Pastor John Woolworth, who was scheduled, has a death in his family and was not able to be with us. Thank you, Deanna.
Well, thank you. Let's bow our heads. Father, we thank you for this evening. And we thank you for all the work that's going to be done here tonight, Father. And I just am amazed at the cooperation with everybody and the unity and everything, Father. This is awesome. I ask for blessings upon all these people here, that everything is done to benefit the community. And I thank you for all that you're doing through these people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Deanna.
Yes.
Is it? I'd say that's close enough. At 7 p.m., I call this meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Shirley, would you take roll call for us, please?
Mike Connell. Ted Fuller.
Here.
Mindy Gellaby. Here. Larry Lambert.
Here.
Bob Porter.
Here.
Steve Wallace.
Here.
Mayor Sue Hammond.
Here.
Absent is Mike Connell.
Looking for approval of our agenda.
I move that the agenda be adopted as printed.
Second.
It's been moved by Chad and seconded by Steve. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Reading and approval of the minutes.
I move that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes from the March 16th, 2023 regular meeting with one minor modification, that being on page 2, under possible approval of amendment purchasing policy, we strike the word finance committee and insert ordinance committee. I don't think we have a finance committee.
Have you got that?
So on
Okay, we'll wait till they get it in there.
Page 2.
Middle of the page. I
Possible
second.
approval of amendment to purchasing policy.
I think we talked about it last time when we
And instead of finance
Page,
committee,
no, sorry,
ordinance
last
committee.
week's, last month's
Okay.
minutes. I second the
So
motion.
we
with
have a
the-
motion from Larry, seconded by Bob. Motion being that it includes an amendment.
With the amendment.
So we want that motion to reflect the amendment. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Looking now for any pre-approved reports or presentations. I don't think we have anything for that, so we'll move to public comment. Billy, is that why you're here? Are you
Nope.
going to speak to public comment?
Just
No?
here to listen.
Okay. Anybody else? Roy, are you speaking to public comment?
No, just here to
Okay.
listen.
All right. Down to communications. Shirley, do you have any communications for us?
You should have received the Personnel Committee information.
Okay.
And then also mayor email for special assessments and information from the mayor on CESA.
Did everybody get those copies?
yes.
Okay. As far as department head reports, who would like to start? Kevin, you want to go first? Okay.
No, it's in this already.
Just wanted to report that last time we talked about selling the 06 Ford F-350. Put that up for auction. We ended up receiving, after auction fees, $10,300 that's going to go back into the motor pool for that piece of equipment. So I feel like we did pretty well on that. We've had a formal inquiry from the Village of Bancroft for assistance with mutual aid in regards to their water system. I'm working with Megan and the city attorney to draft some sort of agreement with them, a mutual aid agreement, so that we can aid them. They have a water tower project coming up. Due to their employee resigning recently, they've asked that we could use our staff to help aid them in overseeing the project and doing checks and stuff on their water system during the project. It's a short-term, temporary situation for them. Brian Barnum has contacted Mayor Sue Hammond in regards to this. I'm just reporting that we're looking into it. If we decide to move forward, if you guys tell me not to move forward, we won't, but if we decide to move forward, we'll draft an agreement that is beneficial for the city of Perry as well as the Village of Bancroft, and we will oversee part-time, doing minimal, maybe emergency response if need be, just to kind of help them out until they either hire qualified staff or the project ends. I'll take any questions on that if you all have any. Other than that, we got springtime stuff going. We've started chipping, collecting brush, doing all the springtime things. It seems like we've had it on hold for a while. Looking at doing some hydrant flushing and just getting into the swing of things. I just got the hang of everything, and now the season's changing and we got to start over. So that's all I have for you guys.
That's what you can. Any questions for Kevin? Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Megan, would you like to go next?
You haven't heard enough from me today. Do you want to head it down? Aside from budget work, I have been working on I guess you could call it a grant opportunity through Consumers Energy. I did submit our pitch today. That's the handout that I gave you. There was only 2 boxes for narratives. This is the first round. Submit your pitch by April 7th. They will then contact any finalists by the end of April. If we're selected as a finalist, we will have to, have to give a presentation at one of their conferences with the potential of $10,000 to $25,000. The proposed project that I put forth was improving the ball fields here at Veterans Memorial Park, and I sold it as piggybacking off of the plan that we hope to put a playground at Veterans Park too. So these projects together will help put us on the map and improve our ball field, hopefully. I think that's all I have for you. I think I talked enough earlier.
Thank you for submitting that. Does anybody have questions about that for Megan? Okay. Kyle, do you have anything for us?
I have a brief report. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to let you know that I put together a letter of support for the sheriff who was looking for letters from law enforcement administrators in the county to help support a grant he is pursuing for a juvenile center. Essentially, what it boils down to is we have no facilities in Shiawassee County, and not really in the surrounding counties even, for any juvenile offenders, violent juvenile offenders. So there's a great cost and a great amount of time to pursue places to put underage offenders. So that being said, I was happy to do that for him, and I think we have a really good shot of getting a 10-bed detainment center just off of the current jail. So hopefully that'll come through, and everybody, hopefully he got a few more letters than just mine. I am happy to say that as one of the instructors for the active violence incident training that we've put on for like the last 5 years, I believe, in Shiawassee County for our police officers, we have that scheduled again for this year. It's going to be in the same location that we trained in last year. But I'm really excited to tell you folks that through the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards, which governs law enforcement in the state of Michigan, our training has been approved by them. There's a PA 552 that came out a couple years ago, and they have standards for that training, but any recruit coming out of a police academy and anybody who has not come out of a police academy with that training is required to have it. All of our law enforcement in Shiawassee County is covered because of the training that we do and have been putting on. So I was really excited to see that that got approved, and that we're doing something that is worthwhile and productive for everybody who's gone through it, and basically meets that requirement now. So other than that, it's been business as usual for us. Any questions for me? All right, thank you.
Debbie, do you have anything for us?
No, she's tonight.
Okay. I'm going to save the couple things that I have to the very end because we need to decide about putting those on agenda. So we'll just move past to our committee reports. Mindy, you have something?
We have Personnel Committee report. We are recommending that at this time we put a deputy clerk position in place. We've talked about it for quite some time, the benefits that if we had that in place for everyone. And we recommend that council approves that. And we also recommend that Shirley Smith be placed in that position with a pay increase of $18.50 per hour. And it's estimated that it will involve about 20 hours a week. So if it becomes necessary for help at the front desk, where Shirley is normally located, while she's training and that sort of thing, we would like council to approve hiring a part-time person to help while Shirley's training. And at $15 an hour, but there would be no benefits. It would be very flexible. Okay. And then we also want to recommend that council approve a college education tuition program be added for our department heads. And it would be up to $1,000 a year that we would reimburse if they qualified with their grade point, and it needs to pertain to the department that they're in. They can't do art classes like that, and it would be based on mayor's approval. So we hope that council will approve that tonight.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mindy? We'll be addressing those things further in the new business. Other committee reports?
Just report that the ordinance committee will be meeting a week from now on Thursday, the 13th of this month at 10 a.m. here in council chambers to continue our work on some ordinance revision discussions, and we've got some other items later on the agenda that are the output of the ordinance committee in the past that we'll be touching on.
Any other committees reporting tonight?
For parks, Megan worked on getting 3 stations for animals, or for the dogs. There's 2 in Jubilee Park, there's one at the very top of the hill going into Perry Oak subdivision. And then there's one right as you enter from the parking lot into Jubilee Park. And then the ones up here, right?
Right by the parking lot.
Right by the parking lot? Okay. I think DPW put those in the ground for us and appreciate that for them, but there's three way stations for animals that we purchased, 2 in Jubilee and 1 up here.
Thank you for that. We've needed those. Any other committee reports? Okay, moving to presentation and approval of the bills.
I move that we approve the bills as presented and that payment be authorized.
Second.
We have a motion from Steve, seconded by Bob. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Under old business, we need to revisit this request from me to do a curb and sidewalk repair at the McQueen House and to improve the parking area along Madison Street on the shoulder at the McQueen House. We have a new bid from DPW for the sidewalk cost. I think y'all have that. It is an estimated cost of $600. And Kevin is here to answer any questions you might have. The street work on Madison Street is the bid that we got last time, but you would, of course, not take into consideration the First Street shoulder because we're not asking for any work there. So the Madison Street estimate for that work on the shoulder of the road to make it better for parking was $3,525. And then the sidewalk improvement right in that same area is now $600. Discussion.
Is that DPW doing the sidewalk repair?
Yes.
Okay. I wondered why it went from whatever it was to 600.
Well,
You
it's
just
because
estimated concrete.
it's because it's only one spot.
Yeah.
Before, they went all the way around,
Right.
and that's not what I had asked for.
No, I understand that, but the way I read that, I thought, I just want to make sure I had read that correctly, that it was, they were doing it in-house.
Yeah.
And then, what you're just telling us.
That's okay. Kevin, you had something to say about that?
It just towards the corner of Madison and First Street, I got pictures of standing water on the sidewalk where it's a little bit lower there, so we would just replace those flags as needed. And then we would address other flooding issues in the area with leftover asphalt from the paving project. The parking lot, coming from the parking lot towards the McQueen property, there's a low spot there, so we would address that at the same time. I feel it's, a reasonable request based on what I've seen and make it the area more walkable and less flooding.
You said you had pictures. Are they on your phone? Is
Yeah.
anybody interested in seeing those pictures of the nasty sidewalk in the mud? Kevin's got them.
Did you say there's a spot coming from the public parking lot we have behind the fire station?
Yes,
There's a little low spot?
yeah.
So large little spot over there, that basically there's a big portion of that parking lot, comes right up to the sidewalk that pools water. And one other thing, Kevin, when you go ahead and get the pictures, send around.
So I was out while it was raining, so we would do the corner to here, this corner, down past where the flooding is. So that was, what did I have here, 63 feet of sidewalk that we would be replacing. From the corner.
I wants to.
You know what we're talking
Just-
about then.
yeah.
So that's the evidence that I gathered, so.
Just to clarify, this is to address a pool and water issue, not a trip hazard or a safety hazard from a trip and fall perspective.
The sidewalk is a little broken up, but there is no trip hazard. So
Okay,
that was my assessment.
So it's
Correct,
to address water retention.
yes.
So the paving of the curb or the roadside,
Mm.
we have a parking lot behind this fire department's public parking right now. Larry said there's a puddle. I haven't seen that puddle, but I'd rather fix that than pave along the side, because people can already park in a lined parking lot and walk down the side. I think we should fix the water issue. I just don't know if we should spend $3,500 on side of the road parking when we have a public parking that's within 50 feet, 60 feet, 100 feet, to make sure, because I'm guessing what it is.
This is the low area in the city parking lot that goes to the sidewalk there. It's almost impossible to get around it and get back to the sidewalk right there. That's what he's referring
Okay. Yeah, in my opinion, I'd rather fix that than pave along the edge of the road. Because
Are
we
there
already have
plans to fix
parking
that?
lot.
I mean, we can look at, we have some patches that we need to do. We can add that to it if need be and just get it taken care of and that not be an issue at all. If that's what, I mean, it should be under the amount that I could spend. We can talk about that in the future.
We have some paving projects on our agenda further in that we're gonna talk about, is that what you're talking
No,
about?
I'm
as part
referring
of
to
that?
some road repairs that from main breaks that we have to.
Oh, okay, yeah,
We
yeah.
haven't done any bidding
Okay.
or spec them yet. So those are coming up and I can include that into it for,
Okay.
you know, probably not a whole lot more, so.
So council, shall we have Kevin include that patching of that city parking lot when they do the patching in the water main break repairs area? Yes,
I
no?
think it's, yes, because that
That needs to be
addresses the
fixed.
standing water for public parking as well as the entrance to the
Access to the
sidewalk for the
Queen
Queen
House.
House, so. I mean, I'm not sure, that whole parking lot isn't available for parking because the fire department needs to be able to have some egress, but there are public parking along the east side of that lot that.
Yeah, it's public parking for the library and then access to the fire department. The fire department, when they have an event, we take up 10. The normal day, there's probably 5. So,
So am I understanding you don't want them to do the work on the Madison Street shoulder?
Well, I have a question
Go
on
ahead.
that. Are there other areas that are worse than one of the Madison Street mud is? In town, you know, that, I mean, I know it's nasty when we've had rain and snow melt and like that, but are there other areas that are affected even worse?
Not that I've seen. I mean, not in public use situations on property that the city owns that, you know, creates an issue like that. I haven't been everywhere in town, and I'm willing to look at other areas if somebody has suggestions, but I have not seen anything personally where that money could be better spent or, you know, along those lines.
I'm just concerned with our budget issues. And,
that's where I'm at. If we had the
you
money,
know,
happily do it. It's just,
I know it needs to be done, and I think there's some other areas that need to be done.
This was brought up though, Mindy, not because it is a city area that needs to be done. We do have, I'm sure, other areas that should be done. But that, the issue is that it's a public use building. And for people to park there, they're in the mud, getting out of their car, walking through the water to get to the door and then tracking it on in the very nice museum. But if we are gonna not do it, and I haven't heard you absolutely say that, but if we're not gonna do that, then I would like to be able to instruct the DPW to put barriers there so nobody will park there when it's wet. They can take those barriers down and just put them in there, and then people won't park there. They'll have to park over on First Street or park over in the city lot and walk around. Is that what you would prefer?
I would prefer to repair the city's parking lot we already have.
And
not-
that's
and
been
not have-
discussed,
Yep,
and we're
and not
going to.
have the expense of the roadside. And if we need to barricade it out, then we need to barricade it out. I think we should repair the sidewalk. It's reasonable to fix that. I'm just concerned with money.
I understand.
It's-
Is there any further discussion regarding the work requested at the McQueen House? I'm looking for motion in regard to those two issues.
I move that we allow the DPW to repair the sidewalks at the corner of Madison and, is that First?
There's a motion on the second,
Where's your second thing? That's what I was looking for, I couldn't find it fast enough.
on this,
Actually, there's two of them here.
yeah, there's this one regarding the sidewalks. The other one is at the bottom of the first page.
Just reverse.
All right.
We approve the material expense to fix McQueen House sidewalks for the amount not to exceed $600.
Second.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Bob, seconded by Chad. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Hey.
Shirley, would you take a roll call, please, on that vote?
Mindy Galvin,
Yes.
Larry Lambert,
Yes.
Todd Porter,
Yes.
Steve Wallace,
No.
Chad Fuller,
Yes.
Motion passes. And hearing no motion in regard to the street repair, am I correct in assuming that that is something that council does not want to move ahead with at this time?
Yes. I don't know, we need to.
So no motion in regard to that. So that just means that we don't do that.
Before we move off the sidewalk, I'll defer it to other business that may come before council, but I think we need to have a little bit more discussion on the, what we want to do about sidewalks in general, and that may be a recommendation that we have the ordinance committee take a look at our ordinances that we have on the books for sidewalks, because it continues to come up as a somewhat emotional and divided issue, and I'll withhold any other comments till we get to any other new business.
I would agree, Larry, that there does need to be some clarification in our ordinance in regard to the responsibility for and liability for sidewalks. It evidently is not clearly defined there, and I think that should be done. I'm sure Justin would be happy to give us some guidance in regard to that. So I would recommend that we do refer that topic to the ordinance committee for evaluation and recommendation. Council, are you all in favor of that? Yes or no?
Yes?
Yes.
All right, then that's what we'll do. Okay, we are now at 7:28, going to move into a closed session. I'm sorry? Oh, I need a motion from, I'm sorry, thank you, Devin. I need a motion from council to go into closed session.
I move the council will go into closed session to discuss attorney-client communication.
Second.
And we have that motion from Steve, seconded by Chad. All those in favor of that, oh, we need to do a roll call on that. Sorry.
Larry Lambert,
Yes.
Bob Porter,
Yes.
Steve Wallace,
Yes.
Chad Fuller,
Yes.
Mindy Galvin.
Yes.
So the motion passes, and now at 7:30, we will move into closed session with our attorney. We'll go into the council workroom, you guys can see. I'm looking now for a motion to go back into regular session. Dennis, are you taking?
I move that we go back into regular session.
Second.
We have a motion from Mindy, seconded by Chad. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Oh, I'm sorry, we
You
have
need
to
a roll
do,
call?
yes, 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 I always forget that, I'm so sorry.
Bob Porter,
Yes.
Steve Wallace,
Yes.
Chad Fuller,
Yes.
Mindy Galvin,
Yes.
Larry Lambert.
Yes.
Motion passes, we're returning into regular session now at 7:40. Okay, Kevin, you're back up. Possible approval of street paving.
I secured a quote from Michigan Paving Materials to repave Lamb Street. It was slated to be repaved with a grant that we didn't receive previously, is what my understanding was from John. So it was next in line. It's in pretty rough shape. We're actually gonna have to do more than just mill and fill. We're gonna have to pulverize it, reshape it with the material that's there, and then pave over the top of that with 2 lifts. So the estimate for that is the $98,250. That includes raising and lowering of the city infrastructure within the street. We have a budget of $100,000 for local street paving to complete this project.
So that's in the budget
Yes,
now.
yes, we're just looking to fulfill the
How does
approved
this
budget.
I'm sorry, cut you off.
We're just looking to fulfill the approved budget obligation and that was approved and get the project taken care of, so.
How does this compare to other quotes that you got for the job?
They are, it was my understanding that they are on like the My Deal bid process. So typically, when there's grant funding, they recommend this company because they usually fall at the bottom of the scale as far as paving goes. I didn't secure a second quote for that. If you guys request me to go out for bids or secure other quotes, I will do so. This one came in under budget, and we've used them in the past for paving projects, and based on John's recommendation, I brought this to you.
My only question for you is on here, it says, inspections, that's with saw cutting. Aren't they gonna have the saw cut at Poly and Rolf? I get the striping part, but I think they should, the saw cutting, aren't they? Maybe I'm wrong, they don't have to, but
I think that they were looking to do a transition there.
mill it in, because
Yeah.
it's including the intersections at Rolf and Poly. How far down, do you know how far down the intersection they were going to do?
Not offhand.
Okay.
We would replace what's there.
Right.
The previous paving lines, that's what we were looking at doing. I don't have a number for you.
That'd be my only, it's under budget, that's great, I just would ask that clarification of that one.
Okay.
That one line item, just because they may have to, I don't know if they do saw cutting in-house, or if they have to get, somebody else that does it, there's lots of companies out there, but that could be another couple $1,000s.
Sure.
We should put us at budget, but just, I would ask that question.
Okay.
Any other questions for Kevin about that?
qualified companies in the business, Kevin, that you know of that do this kind of work?
Yes, there's lots of companies that will do street rehabilitation. If you're requesting me to.
I'm really asking the other council members whether or not, we should take a time out just long enough to understand this. I know it's under budget, and I appreciate that,
Mhm.
but whether or not we truly are competitive. We just talked about our purchasing policy here recently that said we were gonna go out for large dollar quotes. Is it prudent to do this? But I'm not an expert by any means. If this is the single qualified, most qualified company,
If they're part of my deal, they're gonna be one of the lowest, because my deal is like a pool of municipalities that quote.
They have like a list of approved contractors.
Correct.
That
Okay.
have been proven to not spend frivolously, spend.
that's what I'm just asking the question to
Yep.
understand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm confused why that permits and all that isn't included in their quote.
It's city right away, so, I mean, we don't require any permits to repave and do the work there. Permits would be like if it was in conjunction with an MDOT project or railway or something like that would require permitting to do the work. We would just oversee it and make sure that they didn't need anything extra like that. It's not in the area of any of those things. So I don't think there's any permitting that would be required from us or other entities.
What about the other, what Bob mentioned, saw cutting and paint stripping and why wouldn't they include that in their quote?
There isn't currently crosswalks painted or any line striping, traffic lines or anything on the paved surfaces over there now. So we would just be looking to replace it with new asphalt, replace the existing with what's already there.
Are they gonna compact the pulverized material?
Yes.
Okay. That's another one I thought of, maybe they, and I have no idea if this costs money or not, but the nuclear density test, I'm sure they probably had someone qualified to do it, but they may cost an arm and a leg to have it done. I don't know.
We would
There's a
probably have to
machine to go
secure,
up, you'd have to get somebody,
we
you
would
think?
probably have to have an engineering
Okay.
firm provide those results for us if we chose to go that route.
Do we need to make a decision tonight, or can we wait till you ask them about the saw cutting? And bring it back next month, or?
I don't
is it
believe-
time sensitive?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay.
It's my understanding that plants aren't up and running yet. They're just starting to schedule work. We would have to get it done before June to make this budget or carry it over or do a budget
Okay.
amendment. So we're just looking to, because it was budgeted, get it done in this budget timeframe and then, move on, so. Other than that, there's no other constraint, other than finishing the work before the budget runs out, which, I mean, we could address that issue when it comes.
The way I read this quote, if we don't accept it within 10 days of the date, 3/27/23, then this quote is not
They just can't guarantee the prices will hold.
correct.
So, if asphalt starts to go up when the plants open up and they start producing, then the bid would not stay current. That's correct.
When everything's going up, that's probably gonna go up.
Yeah, well, asphalt's a petroleum, has a lot of petroleum-based products in it, so. If need be, are we capable of saw cutting if we have to saw cut?
Yes, we have, the only time you'd run into that, I believe, would be in an intersection, and there's only 2 paved intersections
And that's right, because if they start ripping up pulverizing, it could, the way asphalt, you know, it could spread as you pull it up. That's why they always saw cut through it, so.
I've had the salesman from the company come out and do an assessment of the road before he wrote the bid or
Okay.
update it, because we had a previous one which was cheaper, and this is what the current price is. And he drove it, we got out, and looked at some things, and he wrote his quote based on what he's seen. I can ask questions and try to feel him out on what he wants to do in regards to the transitions, or if where saw cutting would be needed, or anything like that. But yes, we have the capability.
If
We
you
could
have to.
subcontract something if it's a large project, but small items we could do ourselves. We have some of the tooling to do that.
Yes, he just has the pulverize, it doesn't have any milling, so he's not gonna, you know, blend it in there. That's the only thing I see.
We've used this process on other streets, is my
Mhm.
understanding, and it went very well. And the pulverizer is, I mean, they
Pretty
walk
accurate.
a nice line
Okay.
with it, nice neat line with it, so. It's not too noisy, it's not real dusty, it's shielded, it's an approved process.
Well, like I like to say, I know enough about it to be dangerous, so that's why I'm bringing up those
Hopefully
questions.
I'm answering all your questions.
Excuse me, the pulverizer they use, walk behind or right on?
I believe it's a big ride on you
Okay.
to do lots of lane miles relatively quickly.
And is this the same company, you know, Kevin, that did, I think it was West Orchard and a couple other streets last year?
I believe it is, yes.
They did good work, where I saw they did it.
I think they did our subdivision too in Perry Oaks, when they did it 5-6 years ago, something like that. It's been a while since they did Perry Oaks.
It used to be Spartan Paving, and they've changed their name to Michigan Paving Materials, so. But it's the same salesperson, same crew, same craftsmanship.
I move that we approve the street paving project bid from Michigan Paving in the amount of $98,250 as recommended by DPW Kevin Tyler and Superintendent Department, DPW authorization to sign agreement.
Second.
We have a motion from Larry, seconded by Steve. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Kevin, we can move right to your next item, the possible approval of sanitary sewer rehab proposal.
We reached out to a company called Inliner, who's done the majority of the sewer lining in the past for the city of Perry. They'll come through, jet the line, they'll install, I believe it's a 50-year liner, and then they'll video it when they're done, showing us the finished product. There's a cost estimate for the sections that we were looking to have upgraded on Washington Street and Madison Street. These sections are put together, we catalog issues that we have within the system when we do our weekly checks and when there's backups and jetting needed. These are reoccurring issues, so we line those to make it do its job a whole lot better. So, it's a total of 670 feet was what we're looking at relining for this project. We just keep chipping away at our list. It gets better and better as we go and we do these types of maintenance. I kind of lumped the two projects together with the manhole rehabilitation and the sewer lining for a total cost of $43,645, and we're budgeted $50,000. So it'd just be fulfilling a previously approved amount in the budget to complete these projects.
So what about the part that says they have not made allowances for fees associated with traffic permits, water source, hydrant, or disposal of materials?
They're secondary streets, we would provide any water that's needed for them to do the project at no cost, because if we charge them, they're gonna turn around and charge us, and that would not be feasible. It's our system, we oversee the system, it doesn't come in contact with anyone else's system that would need a permit or anything like that, so they just put a baseline. If anything else comes up, that we're responsible for those charges, so I don't anticipate any, there's no reason there would be, unless there's an unforeseen circumstance.
It's normal operation, doesn't affect the use or the residents on that section.
It will temporarily, and the company comes and hangs door tags, and they coordinate with the residents when they're gonna be doing the work. It's my understanding that most of it's done in a day's time, depending on how long of a section it is. So typically, if people are gone at work, it doesn't really affect them. If they're home all day, it may. They might have, sometimes we're not able to use the sewer.
Use the sewer.
Very minimal.
Okay.
Kevin, would you just do me a favor? If you are going to continue to deal with them, would you correct their title, city instead of village?
Sure.
I move that we accept the proposal by Granite Inliner for an amount not to exceed $35,845 for sanitary sewer rehabilitation as recommended by DPW Kevin Tyler.
Second.
We have a motion from Mindy, seconded by Bob. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Then the possible approval of manhole rehabilitation.
The manhole lining is similar to the pipe lining, it's just on a bigger scale. We've noticed some deterioration of some structures due to the sewer gases collecting and eating away at the concrete within the structures. We're trying to tackle it as it arises and make sure they don't get too bad that we have to rebuild structures, because it's a lot more costly to tear a structure down, rebuild it from, way below ground up to the grade level. So this would coat it, protect it, and extend the life expectancy of these structures considerably. So again, there might be temporary outages. Long-term, if it's more than a day or so, we have pumps that we can bypass sections and provide piping and do that type of thing to reduce the outages. But again, they're telling me it shouldn't be more than a day to complete this work.
So looking at, there's two manholes, and I'm gonna assume the V and VFT is vertical feet.
Yes,
So they're both, each one is approximately 15 feet, give or take.
correct. Again, we went through and looked at, we did an assessment of all the manholes, we picked the worst ones, what we could fit in our budget moving forward. Slowly chip away at maintenance items that need to be done to prolong our system and make everything flow as needed.
I move that we accept the proposal to rehabilitate two manholes by Advanced Rehabilitation Technology for amount not to exceed $7,800.
Second.
We have a motion from Steve, seconded by Chad. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Our next agenda item is concerning our new trash service and the possible trash refuse rate. In the past, feel free, Kevin, to correct me, or Megan, or whoever has more knowledge than I do about this. In the past, we have included an additional small amount on the fee that the contract company charges for anything that the DPW has had to address. If there's a leftover large item or something and DPW had to go pick it up, or, so just a small amount to cover any DPW involvement in the trash service. I talked with Kevin and John, because of his experience in the past, about that. Do we need to do that? Do we need to add anything onto this? And they both indicated to me that we did not, because they didn't foresee, based on this contract, and the fact that we won't be doing the citywide cleanup the way it's been done in the past, because quite often that's when the DPW had to get involved, that we don't need any additional fee in there for the DPW. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, you don't have to have an additional fee for that part, no.
Do we need an additional fee for something else?
No. The way I was told on this in the past for the city for the trash rates is we were typically for the residents going up approximately $1 up, and that way it allowed that we didn't have to show the residents an increase, and also those expenses that were put into the budget could be used for other expenses that might have been cleanup for DPW. It had that cushion that was allowable for us to be able to charge that little extra. With the contracts we have in front of it, we're going at a 6% increase every year. So I think what the mayor's getting at is that it might be more logical to just charge the base fee at this point, because she was trying to prove that Kevin didn't need those extra funds, right? Is that what you're trying to prove?
I was just trying to share my understanding of what was told to me. I wasn't trying to prove anything.
Well,
Kevin, did you have something you wanted to?
It just seemed to me like they built in the increases previously. Now it's gonna be more of a money in, money out kind of a thing. With the rate increase already, building in an allowance for those increases, it doesn't seem feasible at this point. As far as the cleanup goes, it's gonna look different. We have to nail down the schedule and how we wanna do that with the services that we're being provided with the new contract. So I feel pretty comfortable with how it is. The only thing that I might note is it says in the contract that if fuel prices increase over a certain amount, I believe it's over $5, that they will have a surcharge for fuel. If they have to enact that surcharge for fuel, we might have to do a rate increase approved by council to cover that cost. If we wanted to build in a little bit to cover any influx in fuel, whether it be temporary or, if fuel rates go sky high, we can have a discussion to do that and have council approve it. It's just based on where we feel comfortable moving forward and what we have to do with that. Other than that, I don't see any reason for it.
Discussion, questions for Kevin or Devin or anybody besides me?
I didn't mean that way. And the only thing I can recommend with what Kevin said is doing $12.50 instead of $12.20. And again, that is so small and it's
A little bit of a cushion.
a little bit of cushion and it's
for
just
finances.
an easy trash rate that we would be assessing to our residents.
I guess the other, I'm sorry, Devin.
No, that's all.
The other question we need to ask is, a year from now, are we gonna be sitting here adjusting the price again because of the 6%
Yes.
increase?
Yes, we will.
Or should we say, okay, we're already, going from 8 something to 12? Should we at
20
least
is-
build in the first 6% and look at like 13 and a quarter or something like that, and not have to go back another time to the residents a year from now and say, our trash pickup is going up yet again?
And-
Just,
And that's exactly what we've done in the past. That's what council has considered, those two options.
I don't think that there is a specific fund or fund balance for the trash line item. So it's my understanding that if there's a residual, that money goes back into the general fund, so it wouldn't help down the road to curb those costs. You'd still have to increase 6% each year.
Can I explain what he is saying though on the
Charge it up front.
charge it up front, and then the people know what they expect. They have the same rate for 2 years.
Right.
So it's more of
I'm just raising that question for discussion.
consideration.
I see two issues with that. It's not a bad idea. Should have thought of that before we put it on social media that it went up $4. Because there's a big hullabaloo going on social media about this. Right or wrong,
Yeah.
believe it or not, that's just what's going on. So, did anybody tell me what the rate is right now? $8.80?
$8.50 right now,
$8.50?
and we held that for 5 years for our residents. We didn't have to raise as a city our trash rates.
I know we have
This
the
year, we're
built-in.
paying more than $8.50. I
True.
believe this year, the city is covering,
It was $8.51.
so eventually it comes back to, you paid a little more last year, and now it's paying for itself this year.
No, what I was getting at, what is this right now? We already have out there is $4 is going up. So I think that it may be a good idea to make it $12.50. People are expecting a $4 raise. If we go another 6%, they're not expecting a
Okay,
$5
I wasn't aware of
raise.
the $4
That's-
already out there, Bob.
Yeah. I don't follow it too much, I look at it a little bit, and I take it with a grain of salt, but yeah. There's always misinformation out there.
And just to address some of that, since you brought it up, we have fielded, I'm going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 phone calls in the last 3 days. Megan's going like this, 75, 100 phone calls in the last 3 days with questions about the new trash service. So we felt that perhaps the flyer that was included with the new carts was not including enough of the details that people wanted to know. So surely Megan and I talked with Jill, our representative with Waste Management. She was here at our last meeting today. She's going to put together on Waste Management stationery frequently asked questions, and those questions are the 800 that we've gotten here in the last 3 days. And then we will post those. We're going to post them on everywhere that we always post everything, and see if that helps to calm the questions that are out there, or answer the questions that are out there. But part of the issue was that the staff at Waste Management either wasn't reading the new information or didn't understand it or wasn't given it. She wasn't exactly sure the why. But she said there's evidently been, I forget the words she used, but there we go, training issues. There's evidently been some training issues with getting your city on board for our service, because many of the things that were coming to our attention with phone calls was that they would call Waste Management with questions and be told something different than what was in our contract. No, you can't have a bulk item outside the cart. Well, yes, you can. It says right here in our contract you can. And it also says on that flyer that was in the cart that you can. So it was hearing something different from a phone call than seeing in print or hearing from us. And so there was a lot of misinformation out there. So again, she is putting that together, and we'll get that posted just as soon as we get it from her. and hopefully that will help. But if you do have questions, please feel free to call. We are still taking questions. You can though call Waste Management directly as well. And that's one of the things that she emphasized in the change from our previous provider to this one, is that they will handle the calls from residents. They don't have to go through our city hall and then be fielded back. So that they're welcome to that too. But I would say maybe give them a week to get their staff trained and then call. But anyway, there we are. That's the update on that.
That must be the misinformation about the large item, because I saw that.
Yeah.
I didn't answer it, but I saw that.
Yeah.
Or Jennifer told me, I don't remember, but
Yeah.
when I saw the flyer inside the thing,
Mhm.
I bet you 50% of the people aren't gonna look in there, they're just gonna throw their trash in there.
Yep. And that's
And I
correct,
had to
too.
physically
Yeah.
pick it up and dump it out.
When they
I have to go
dropped,
get one out for somebody.
I know when they came, I know when they came through the second day when they were dropping the bins off,
Mhm.
they were actually sticking the flyers halfway in the bin on the hook, on the
Yeah.
lid,
Yeah.
and it was sticking halfway out,
Yeah.
because some people were saying that they didn't get the flyer that came with them. So the second day, they must have caught wind of that, and they were sticking it half in and half out as soon as they dropped the cans off.
Wasn't
Trying to
raining
help
that
people
day
see
either.
it.
Yeah.
A lot of variation, mine was laying in the street.
It was windy too.
It was, yeah, yeah. But I think we've addressed some of those issues, and of course, it's a change, and there's always got to be time for the change to settle in and everybody to get adjusted, so that's where we are there. So we need to now get back to the task at hand, and that's to decide on the trash refuse rate.
Did we decide on the rate?
I think in light of all, yeah,
$12.50 is what, whoever wants to read it can just add that, I guess. and we'll-
Yeah,
we want
we
to
could
make it
change that,
12.50.
but we weren't sure.
I move that we accept and adopt the following resolution. It is resolved that whereas the City of Perry Code Section 1082.04 provides that the City Council shall establish by resolution all rates and fees for residential premise refuse collection, and also provides that said rate shall be subject to revision by City Council from time to time. Therefore, the City of Perry does hereby increase the monthly fee for residential premises refuse collection by Waste Management per month, per premise, thereby establishing the total fee at $12.50 per month per premise, effective April 10, 2023.
Second.
We have a motion by Bob, seconded by Mindy, in the nutshell that the rate be established at $12.50 per month. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Kevin. Next, we have a possible amendment to our personnel policy. This is what Mindy reported on in regard to the recommendation from the Personnel Committee to amend our personnel policy to allow all department heads to be eligible for up to $1,000 of matching tuition reimbursement annually. In order to be eligible for such tuition reimbursement, the employee must receive prior approval from the mayor, and the course as taken by the employee is, in the mayor's opinion, relevant to the field of employment in the city of Perry. In addition, in order to be eligible for the tuition reimbursement, the employee must satisfactorily complete the course with at least a 2.5 grade point average. Any discussion on that?
I have one suggestion or a question or whatever you wanna call it. Because I've gotten this before years and years and years ago, something similar. And what that employer did was if I got a 4.0, I got 100%. If I got 3 point whatever, I got this. If I got less than 2.5, I got 0. So, because he thought that I didn't try. So, and I'm fine with everything, I just didn't know if I want to throw that out for discussion, if we want to graduate it.
She's like, got her eyes deadlocked on me. Well, the way that this motion is written, they have to achieve at least a
A
2.5.
minimum, but they get 100%, so I was wondering if we want to entertain.
Well, they don't get 100%.
No,
They
no,
get-
no, of the $1,000.
Yes, yeah. But that's probably nowhere close to what they're gonna be paying.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I mean,
just-
my research on what the tuition was in our area, let me see if I can find my scratchy piece of paper. Yeah, and me too, I mean, I was like blown away when I saw how much it is, but it was, here we are. Based on published tuition and fees, the average cost of a college credit hour is $158 for students at a 2-year public in-district school. For students at a 4-year public in-state college, it's $448 per credit hour. So how many credit hours are in a class? It depends, obviously, on what the class is, but they're gonna be in the range of 4 to 5. So, you know.
Like I said, I don't have an issue with,
Yeah, the
amount, I just
$1,000 is
wanted-
really only a portion of what
it's a
they're
stipend,
paying.
but I just wanted to throw that out for discussion.
Yeah.
So that's all I was.
Yeah, and we can discuss that some more. I just wanted to share that information. Personnel committee was aware of that.
I don't see anywhere on here where it says accredited college or,
No, it just as a course, the merit is discretion.
Relevant to the field of employment with the city of Perry. We could, and certainly insert that with,
Would it have to be at a credit
Courses.
college if you got a certified course that you're taking that's not in conjunction with a college to further your, job skills?
Right, because you could get certified in
You can get-
Excel or whatever.
Whatever it may be, wouldn't necessarily have to be a college
Yeah, that's
level
true.
course,
Yep,
so.
yep.
And it's gonna take the mayor's approval to be able to identify the linkage between the course and the
And
job
employee.
requirements.
But some of those are pass-fail, so you can't, there's no way to grant that minimum
Yeah.
GPA.
Well, I would assume a pass is at least a 2.5.
So I like your idea, Bob, to get something on the books and get started with it and not
Yeah, I think
turn it
it's a
into.
great
I would
idea.
just-
Encourage, education's never wasted. I think it's a great idea. I just look at it as, is there a way for us to, make it a little bit more incentive or graduate it? So, and I'm not saying anyone asking for this wouldn't be attentive to their classes. It's not what I'm saying, just, those things that I've seen from the minimal experience I've had.
Other than you go back to the pass-fail scenario, you could have excelled and there's no way to.
We could do a graduated dollar amount if it's a accredited college, it's this. If it's a trade type accredited, certification, it's this. Two different.
I
ways to look
honestly
at it.
think
I
that's
don't
just
know.
getting too
complicated?
complicated.
That's
Way
why I'm
too
back
complicated.
to, my view right now is the great idea is, but let's get it started with something basic and can grow into it if we need to make modifications down the road.
Yeah, and it is limited to a maximum of $1,000 a year. So, I mean, they could take many more courses, pay a lot more of their own money.
But one
And
calendar
what
year,
we're
they already
doing
get-
is just
right.
gonna give them $1,000 toward all that.
I move that we approve the following amendment to the personnel policy for the City of Perry department heads, except for those that are covered by a master contract which is negotiated with a recognized union or labor group, and with the understanding that this policy will be effective May 1 of 2023. Tuition reimbursement will be added after point L millage, and all titles after point M tuition reimbursement will follow next alphabetically. M, tuition reimbursement. All department heads will be eligible for up to $1,000 of matching contribution reimbursement annually. In order to be eligible for such tuition reimbursement, the employee must receive prior approval from the mayor for the course as taken by the employee as is, in the mayor's opinion, relevant to the field of employment with the City of Perry. In addition, in order to be eligible for tuition reimbursement, the employee must satisfactorily complete the course with at least a 2.5 grade point average. Provided the above conditions are met, the city will match dollar for dollar tuition costs as paid by the employee for the approved courses up to a maximum of $1,000 annually.
Second.
We have a motion from Larry, seconded by Steve. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Moving to the other item that the Personnel Committee recommended to us, and that's in regard to our interim deputy city clerk. And in conjunction, but a separate item, is to have a possible approval of the wage for the receptionist, which is a flexible part-time position. As I said before, we're really not looking to post that position, do anything with that part-time, flexible part-time receptionist position at this time. We'd just like to get the wage established so that when the time comes, we can post it or talk with someone about it. What Megan and Devin and I and the Personnel Committee have talked about is, at that position, it may not be that somebody needs to be here 20 hours a week. It might be that they only need to be here for 2 hours on Monday and 2 hours on Thursday, 1 week. And then maybe the next week, though, we need them for 4 hours a day for 5 days, just depending on what's going on with Shirley's training and so forth. So it will be challenging to find someone who is flexible to do that. But if we know how much we're gonna pay, then we are at least able to have those discussions with people that we might, come across or might inquire about employment with the city. So that's why we're looking at both of those today, not because we're looking to fill them both right now, but. And as you can see, Shirley's in training. And she's doing a fine job.
I move that the city authorize the city clerk to train a deputy clerk whose duties will be performed by the AP clerk. Once qualified to perform as a deputy clerk, the combined position of AP clerk and deputy clerk will be compensated at the rate of $18.50 per hour.
Second.
We have a motion from Mindy, seconded by Chad. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. And then in regard to the wage for the receptionist flexible part-time position.
I move that the part-time position of not to exceed 20 hours per week is authorized to perform duties at the city's front desk at the rate of pay of $15 per hour.
Second.
We have a motion from Chad, seconded by Mindy. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Okay, now we're on to our possible adoption of ordinance amendment 373 regarding 612.04 dogs. Barry, do you want
Sure.
to lead off?
Yeah, this is the ordinance that we read at our last meeting. Fundamentally changed the terminology from dog owners to any dog that's within a person's care does not have to be their owner. And we were just cleaning up some verbiage in that one as we discussed last time. Any questions? I move that ordinance number 373, which amends section 612.04 dogs, and which was read at the March 16th council meeting, be adopted.
Second.
So we have a motion from Larry, seconded by Chad. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. And now possible adoption of ordinance amendment number 376 regarding 1444.01 house.
Numbering.
Number,
This is one, once again, one that we read last time, and just to remind everyone, this one is to clean up, and I'll call it more modernize our ordinance that previously was very restrictive in terms of where house numbers had to be placed and how big they had to be, etc. We've incorporated some options for people to make certain that their house numbers are displayed, but try to make it as liberal as possible. The whole idea with this is to make certain from a safety perspective that for, be it fire, ambulance, or whatever other safety need may arise, that when responders try to get to someone's house, they're not trying to hunt for a house number. So it's size, location, contrast with the building or the whatever they happen to be mounted on that is defined in the ordinance. Comments, questions? I move that ordinance number 376, which amends section 1444.01 house numbers and which was read at the March 16th council meeting, be adopted.
Second.
Motion from Larry, seconded by Steve. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. And yes, you're right, it says house numbering, I missed that word, sorry. Next on our agenda is the possible first reading of zoning ordinance amendment number 379 regarding section 15.07, table 8.02.
Keep going.
Yep.
Okay, this one deals with our marijuana ordinances that we have on the books around zoning, and fundamentally, it identifies and defines the approved locations for how we measure distances for a location relative to school or library. I move that zoning ordinance amendment number 379 regarding marijuana, and which reads as follows, be placed on the next agenda for possible adoption. The City of Perry ordains, the City of Perry zoning ordinance number 379, section 15.07 FF.2 and table 8.02 are amended, and below cited paragraph shall be inserted in its stead as follows. Section 15.07 specific standards FF, medical marijuana provisioning centers / medical adult use, i.e. recreational retailers. Point 3, no medical marijuana provisioning center, marijuana adult use recreational retailer shall be located within 1,000 feet of a public school or library. The distance between the school building or library and the contemplated location must be measured along the center line of the street or streets of address between two fixed points on the center line determined by projecting straight lines at right angles to the center line from the part of the school building or library nearest to the contemplated location and from the part of the contemplated location nearest to the school building or library. Chapter 8, Section 8.02, Table of Uses, Medical Marijuana Provisioning Center, Adult Use Recreational Marijuana Retailers, be amended and replace the following. Table 8.02, Table of Uses for Commercial Districts, Medical Marijuana Provisioning Center / Adult Use Recreational Marijuana Retailers. Note, a single location may serve as both a medical marijuana provisioning center and a marijuana retailer if approved by application. Central Business District, not permitted. B1 zoning, special SLU, special land use. Mixed use requires special land use also.
Second.
We have a motion from Larry, seconded by Steve. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. And then we have also a possible first reading of ordinance amendment number 380 regarding 860.02 A and D.
I'm going to keep going.
Sure.
This, once again, deals with our marijuana ordinance activity, and this is inside of our codified ordinance. And it talks about the number of ordinances, and also does talk once again about how the numbers are measured. I move that ordinance amendment number 380 regarding marijuana, and which reads as follows, be placed on the next agenda for possible adoption. The City of Perry ordains Perry City Code Section 860.02 A and B, Section 860.04 A and D, Section 860.05 A.1 is amended and the following is substituted in its place instead. 860.02 Purpose, point C. It is the intent of this chapter to authorize the establishment of 2 locations for medical marijuana provisioning centers, i.e. adult use recreational marijuana retailer. Note, a single location may serve as both medical marijuana provisioning center and a marijuana retailer if approved by applications in the City of Perry, and provide for the adoption of reasonable restrictions to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare of the community at large, retain the character of the neighborhoods, mitigate potential impacts on surrounding properties and persons. It is also the intent of this chapter to affirm that the City of Perry is upholding its prohibition of all other marijuana establishments other than those specifically authorized by this chapter. It is also the intent of this chapter to help defray administrative and enforcement costs associated with the operation of a marijuana facility in the city through the imposition of an annual non-refundable fee as defined by resolution of the City Council on each medical marijuana facility licensee. Authority for enactment of these provisions is set forth in Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act, MCL 333.27101 ETSQ, and the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, MCLA 333.27951 ETSQ. Further, the city does not intend that permitting and regulation of this chapter be construed as finding that such facilities comply with any law. D, the City of Perry considers it necessary and pertinent to authorize the establishment of 2 locations for medical marijuana provisioning center facilities / adult use, i.e. recreational marijuana retailers, through a limited application period and subsequent lottery system drawing to be specified by resolution of City Council at the time such application period and lottery shall occur. 860.04 Authorization of facilities and fees. Point A, the maximum number of each type of medical / adult use recreational marijuana facility allowed in the city shall be as follows. Grower prohibited, processor prohibited, provisioning center / retailer, 2 locations maximum. Note, a single location may serve as both a medical marijuana provisioning center and a marijuana retailer if approved by application. Marijuana micro business prohibited. Safety compliance facility prohibited. Secure porter prohibited. Marijuana event organizer prohibited. Designated consumption establishment prohibited. Point E, the allowed provisioning center retailer conditional licenses shall be awarded via lottery. An application fee of $5,000 shall be paid in full at the time of each application is submitted. Applications shall be accepted for a 30-day calendar period to be determined by city council resolution. All applicants with fully completed applications received within the application period will be entered into a lottery drawing on the day previously set by council resolution and shall be open to the public. After city council's review and approval of the lottery results, the winner shall be awarded a conditional provisioning center / retailer license and will be moved into the formal licensing and approval process. The first and second runners-up will maintain their lottery ranking positions in the event the winner is unable to complete the overall approval process within the approved time period. All other applicants in the lottery will receive a refund of $2,500 within 30 days of the lottery completion. Should the first or second runners-up elect to withdraw at any time after the lottery is conducted, they will be refunded $2,500 within 30 days after their withdrawal is confirmed in writing with the city clerk. 860.05, general location and operational requirements. B, medical / adult use recreational marijuana establishments shall be prohibited from being licensed and located in any parcel or lot within a residential zoning district as indicated in the city zoning map at the time of license application. The entire parcel or lot upon which medical / adult use recreational marijuana facility is located shall be zoned for medical / adult use marijuana establishments. Point 4, medical and adult use recreational marijuana establishments shall be prohibited from being licensed and located within 1,000 feet of a pre-existing public or private school providing education in kindergarten or any grades 1 through 12. Medical marijuana establishments shall be prohibited from being licensed and located within 1,000 feet of a public library. The distance between the school building or library and the contemplated location must be measured along the center line of the street or streets of address between two fixed points on the center line determined by projecting straight lines at right angles to the center line from the part of the school building or library nearest to the contemplated location and from the part of the contemplated location nearest to the school building or library.
Second.
We have a motion from Larry, seconded by Bob. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Larry, for reading all that stuff. We make you type it, we make you read it. Gosh, we appreciate it.
Just as an aside, that measurement system is the same that the state of Michigan requires for any granting of any liquor licenses. Not necessarily the distance, but how it's measured is the same technique that they require.
Moving on then to the next item on our agenda, which is any other business that may come before council. Kevin mentioned this in his report, and that's in regard to the Village of Bancroft's request for a mutual aid agreement. Kevin and I did talk to Justin regarding the Village of Bancroft's request. He is in the process of drafting the mutual aid agreement. Kevin's gonna get him the information he needs regarding compensation. We talked about emergency situations. If, for example, a weather situation impacted our city, but then also went on to impact Bancroft, because they are right in the path, that our DPW would give priority to the city of Perry, then provide mutual aid when available to the village. I think that was really it, other than the compensation and the liability. He's gonna spell that out. he will get that together and we'll get it to you guys and then bring it to the next council meeting for discussion and possible approval of that mutual aid agreement. But Brian Barnum, who's the village president, has called me a couple times. He talks with Kevin quite a bit. And I did call him back after we talked to Justin and told him I thought we could work out this mutual aid agreement. And he was extremely grateful. When they lost Kevin, who used to be their water guy, to us, they did hire somebody else eventually. But then, after they got this project for the renovation of their water tower, like ours last year, he quit. So they have the engineering all done, the engineers in place, the project's scheduled to start next Wednesday. And they just don't have anybody to help them. So Kevin may do some stuff on his own time to get him through until we get our mutual aid agreement. But I told him that was absolutely fine. On his own time, that's his own time. So I hope if there's any concerns or questions or things you think should be in that agreement, let me know and I'll pass that on to Justin. And then in regard to our request for an increased ambulance assessment, we've talked about this for a long time. We've tried to figure out what we can do. And I sent out a communication to everybody, it's in my letter for the month, indicating that our increase that we can approve is 10%. We can do that, increase on any assessment. So I think we need to put on the agenda for our next meeting that discussion and possible approval of that. But then if that moves ahead, then I think we would need to move ahead in short order to start the process for creating an additional amount to take it to the requested $110. And that would then, the balance of that would be assessed on our winter tax bill. So that's a suggestion. I've talked with Megan, I've talked with Devin, I've talked with Larry. It's a suggestion. So we'll put it on the agenda for next meeting and discuss that and see if we can come up with something to do to get it rolling. And that's all I've got. Do we have any public comment at this time? Any council discussions or observations? I would like to thank council and our department heads for being here tonight. We started our budget workshop at 5:30, and then we came right into this meeting at 7, and here we are at 8:45, and I think we're done. But thank you so much for all your dedication to the city of Perry. You're much appreciated.
Can we actually practice on agenda items?
Sure, we'll let Shirley practice on agenda items. Shirley, for the next meeting, we would like discussion of a mutual aid agreement with the Village of Bancroft and possible approval. And then we'd also like discussion of the ambulance assessment request. Possible approval and develop an action plan.
Do you want the
We-
health insurance talk to on the next meeting then?
Sure, and we'll discuss the health insurance at the next meeting. And then we need to have possible approval of the ordinances that were read tonight for their first readings. What ones were those, Larry?
370, possible approval of ordinance amendment 379, and then ordinance amendment 380, which were the last two items on our current agenda.
We at some point really should have discussion about not just ambulance assessment, but public safety,
Yes, absolutely.
fire, ambulance, and police.
Yes, yep, yep. Fire, ambulance, and police. And you're right, we should do that. I think we don't want to complicate our decisions regarding the assessment request by doing that next time, but I think in the very near future, we need to get that rolling. So I'll just write here, maybe Shirley, you'll want to write that down for a future meeting, discussion of emergency services assessment.
Good, correct.
Anything else, council, that you're aware of? Was that enough practice? Okay. At 8:45, our meeting's adjourned.